Hey everybody, thanks for coming back to PowerModz. We just got back from Gaspe, Quebec. I guess we had what? How many hours? How many hours were you on the road?
On the road yesterday on the way back, about 16 hours.
16 hours. We were about 15. We got in a little earlier. We went around the far side of Montreal because we got a snowstorm and the traffic was pretty bad. But we had a great weekend in Gaspe with the boys. We have to thank Team Gaspe for bringing us out, showing us around and helping us get unstuck, maybe some more than others. Conditions were a little low apparently. The snow, a little crusty on top, maybe about, what would you go down about 18 inches or 16 inches in some areas, then you'd have like a crust for 5 inches and then it was just kind of powder right underneath that.
Yeah, it depends where the wind blew the snow, and you know, some areas we were up to our neck and some areas we were just knee deep. So
yeah, just but we couldn't get the real fluff on top that we wanted. You couldn't really
carve it up.
You couldn't carve it up like you're a boondocking the snow coming over the windshield kind of stuff. But apparently that's coming for the end of the month. So we're going to try to get another trip out there. Rock and roll. Everybody knows this is Keeley here.
How are you doing?
Kind of looks like Ron Jeremy a little bit. But we just wanted to tell you about all the carnage and what went wrong and what we did and what went right and all that. About 3 kilometers in on the first day, the Arctic broke down. I guess a cooling hose on it split and he lost all his coolant, seized up the top end on it. So we hauled it back and then he borrowed another sled. Was it this one?
No, the first day I think he was using the Dennis's BCX.
Backcountry.
Yeah, the backcountry, and it's got a 137, 175. So he's having some trouble keeping that going anywhere. But he was in good spirits. Mark, he kept up and he just hung out with us and rode what he could.
Well, that's an interesting point. You know, the backcountries with the shorter tracks, they even in that kind of snow conditions, they just couldn't do the same thing that the long tracks could do.
No, not even close. Yeah.
And with the suspension set up, and this one here, a lot of work has gone into this thing, but you're tied back by your suspension in the rear.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure if it's the coupled skid or whatever. We're gonna mess with it, but it would just trench. It was trenching like crazy, and I think the best sled the whole weekend was the Rev. It was flawless. It ran hard and. It just putzed around. It could get up anything and barely got stuck, except for some of the real deep and steep stuff. But we had a blast.
Yeah, sure. We're videoing. Like, come on. Quiet on the set.
He wants to get on his bed.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I'll go back to the trenching here for a second. We raced up that one hill that we could find with, there was some powder on it. It was deep in areas. Yeah. Like, behind little bumps or whatever. And we'd start off in that one spot. And you and I could start off against each other with the old GX chassis and the Rev, and we could both take off no problem. Yeah. It would dig down and go, but then we tried it with this, and
it just buried itself.
Boom! It just
couldn't even go.
You didn't even come up over the hill.
Yeah, unbelievable difference. Yeah, it was neat to see to actually try it on the hill. We were basically in the middle of it was probably a 40-degree incline, and we'd start on a bit of a flat road in the middle of the hill, and we'd just go into some deep stuff, and we got some video. It'll be great to see the difference between these two getting up and going, and this one just buried itself.
It's all the suspension and the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you rocked that, definitely. That thing was totally flickable and a little crazy. Did a couple little crazy things there.
Yeah, I'd say it even goes good on its own down the hill. Yeah. Had a couple of free rides on its own. So.
It's on cruise control too. It just sort of happens to just miss the trees or hit them just the right way. And nothing really happens to them.
It's the way I plan it.
Bit of damage, no damage on that though.
No.
This here, for some reason, your electrics just stopped working. You got no...
Yeah, I think the busted taillight did sensitive with the electrics, and taillight cracked and through the circuit board. I think it's messing with the electronics a bit.
Yeah. Mark sort of tweaked the handlebars here a little bit. You can see they're a little bit off.
Bent the column.
Yeah. And then what happened here?
The bungee accident there.
Yeah, the boys were using the snow bungee. Were a little too aggressive with the use of it, and they came up and scraped up the light a little bit. Did a little bit of damage.
Clean that up.
Just clean that up. That's about it for this one. The back to BCX. There's that Dennis's. He's going to be fixing that up. My 700 is an awesome sled for shooting straight up hills, but there's not enough snow to really do any kind of carving with it. It's just too hard to lean over. It's a really good example of why they went to the more rider forward style. Yeah. It's good if I have a foot of powder, I can have fun with it, but when it's harder, I was fighting that sled all weekend.
I was able to lean that Rev over, and I could just putts up the hill on, side angling it and side hilling it, and yeah, like you said, you couldn't even get yours to stay there.
No,
It was a hard pack, we maybe had 6 or 8 inches of fluff on top,
but where it blew down and blew hard, I couldn't do
Yeah.
it. It was brutal. It was brutal. But for pointing and shooting, old school, I loved it that way.
Yeah.
The power that came out of that 700 was awesome. And the way it hooked up with easy ride suspension and that track, I love that track. It's got that softer paddle in it. It did really well. But anyway, there are going to be some changes made to the 700. It's going to be a 700 Rev. So I'm buying a Rev chassis. I'm going to swap everything over because you can do that. Most of the parts off the ZX chassis will swap over to the Rev, the style from 2004 to 2007. So hopefully we'll get that done by the end of the month. I just have to find a chassis to swap it into. But I got to thank you for your use of your trailer and throwing all our gear in it. And we got to thank the boys for hauling all our gear with their big diesels. And
yeah, Ryan's big diesel. He's got a big 2500 all boondocker kit on it, and it pulled 10,000 pound trailer full of stuff really well, and almost $1,000 in diesel to get there and back. I think it was ridiculous.
Yeah, $1,000 in fuel for both trucks pretty much. They're both about the same, but the Gasper did pull like that diesel did. It was pretty ridiculous. And again, thanks to the Team Gaspe boys and the Colonel there. Colonel has a lot of wisdom. When you're hanging around guys like that, you got to sit back and listen. They know how to impart their knowledge. So now I have about 4 or 5 days of video editing to do, so we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff to come out. We couldn't shoot a whole lot of video because it was about, minus 25 or 20 to 25 at sea level where we started, and then you get up in the mountains and the wind chill was brutal. You couldn't take the cameras out. The GoPros only lasted 20 minutes. It was a very extreme environment to film in, so we didn't get a whole lot the first 3 days. A little bit the last few days, but hopefully we can make that up here in the next, at the end of the month. So thanks for joining us at PowerModz. Make sure you like us on Facebook, check us out on YouTube, and subscribe because we got a lot more cool videos coming out. Thanks for watching.